Hello and welcome. Today we've got David Mahoney. And today we are going to be discussing how there's so many facts around the suspicion of how the Texas shooting could be a distraction of the Durham investigations and arrests that are happening right now. There's a lot of discussion with Hillary Clinton, who created the collusion against President Trump, and also the arrest of Nancy Pelosi's husband. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and David can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. David, thank you for joining me, sir. How are you and what have you been up to?
Nick, always happy to see you, buddy. Yeah, the insane censorship, it always makes me smile when you say that. Nick, I'm actually in Mexico. We'll get into that, what I'm doing here. We'll go through some of the other stuff, but I'm a bit jet lagged, haven't slept a lot. I'm only going to be here for 3 nights, so it's my final day. I'm heading back across the Atlantic to run the gauntlet of low frequency vibration guardians of stupidity at airports. So I've got that to deal with later. But very good, mate. Very good. There's been a lot happening. I've been tracking some interesting stuff. I suppose we'll get into the Texas shooting, because I tell you what, mate, if you don't, obviously a lot of people watching don't have US TV, but CNN are doing nothing but plugging this. They've set up big memorials. There's thousands of flowers. They've set up all of these grief counseling centers. So before we get into some of the suspicious facts that I've been looking at and researching, I'd like to say, first of all, that my heart goes out to the families that have lost children, because we're not going to say that nobody died in this incident. Absolutely, kids died. And I'll explain how we know this for sure. So if you're sitting there watching this and you're going to think I'm going to start bashing it and say it's a whole complete made up story, it isn't. But there's a lot of facts about this case that seem to be very suspicious, Nick. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Right. So one of the first things I noticed was it's always the same sort of shooter. You know, a kid who's a loner. He's got either a father missing in his life. And this particular 18-year-old kid, Ramos, I think's his name. He was an 18-year-old kid living with his grandmother. And I think it's very strange, first of all, why he would choose a schoolyard, because if you've got grief and anger with society in general, you'd probably go into a police station or something. You're not going to go in there and shoot a lot of kids. So this automatically made me suspicious. And because of all of the previous false flag and false shootings, Nick, I started to doing some digging. So there's no CCTV footage of the incident. They have a campus police presence as well, but they have their own campus police, and they were blocking the other police getting in there. The rear door was open on the building. There's been radio calls released about the campus police chief keeping the other police out, saying, oh, that shooter's dead. That shooter's dead. There's no point in storming that room. So, which is very strange, because they'd have to go in and clear it. And this 18-year-old kid had 2 AR-15s, very nice ones. He had body armor. He had a scope on the gun. An 18-year-old kid, where's he going to get it's about $5,000 worth of equipment, shooting equipment, just the weapon alone. And then you've got the ammunition, the body armor, the scope. So he's looking at about, $10,000 worth of personal military equipment. And then apparently he was driving an F-250 truck, which was worth $70,000. But somebody told me that he borrowed that from his grandfather or some family member, but I haven't verified that yet. But the most interesting thing, Nick, is the numbers, because the number of dead. I was sitting having breakfast with an English guy called George, and he is amazing at this astrology. He read some of my astrology points at the table, and it was mental. He said, he was looking at my date of birth, and he said, did you have a leg injury between the ages of 6 and 8? Sure enough, I had, mate. When I was 6, I fell on a milk bottle, and they were going to amputate my leg, but he picked this up from this astrological chart and the skills he's got. So we went a bit further, and I started saying, hey, have you ever done the numbers on how many kids were killed, the dates involved? He said, yes, I have. I'm going to get that report and send it as a link or a PDF or something, Nick, because the numbers all stack up to a sacrifice. Now, we're going to talk about this satanic ritual cult that we know most of these top, well, in fact, all of these top world politicians and elites, we've been talking about it for years, Nick. You too, you mention it a lot, I've noticed, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the numbers are all significant. The date the incident happened, the amount of dead that happened, and these rituals that they have to do at certain times of the year, and it always involves children. All of these incidences that they go into these schoolyards, they're always in schools, aren't they? They don't shoot up, you know, there was another one recently, a shopping mall, but it's always about kids. And it's definitely a linked correlation to specific lunar dates, significant dates in the satanic calendar, and the numbers, how they all add up to, you know, those famous 3 6s. I'm going to get the information because I hadn't actually finished preparing it because I got dragged away to do something else. But I will. So you can see that I'm not just making this up and talking absolute rubbish, because this is the most disturbing thing, that they can, like, okay, Bill Durham is now exposing the Clintons. Her personal aide, if I'm not mistaken, has been divulging lots of interesting facts and information about the Trump collusion, the Russian collusion. And it's now proved without a doubt that she was the person that orchestrated it, gave it the green light, and the Obamas knew as well about trying to make Trump look like he was in with the Russians, which wouldn't be a bad thing now considering what's going on. So it's very interesting, these shootings, guys. I specialize in analyzing these false flags. I would say subspecialize, really. It's not my be-all, end-all. But these incidences are all designed to try and get the guns out of the hands of the citizens of the USA, the people is a better word, because on average, if you took all of the population of the USA, it means that everybody's got about 1.7 handguns and weapons and millions of rounds of ammunition. And this is one of the beautiful things about the American Constitution, you know, the right to bear arms, because you could never invade America. Because, you know, you'd be that many millions of people shooting back at you. They just simply don't have the manpower. So I'm tracking this story well, Nick. It's going to develop a bit more. CNN are plugging like mental. It's like a 24 hours memorial. Let's have a look at what's going on in this town in Texas. Now, I'll take a breath, Nick, because I've been rambling. I met a woman here in Mexico at Huna Flash's event. She's from about half an hour from this town. So I spoke to her. I said, listen, before we get into this, I've got some views that you might not agree with. She said, oh, no, people died, kids died because, you know, friends and children's groups like scouting associations and other youth groups, you know, they know that these kids have been sacrificed. So this is why we know it really did happen. But what was the reasons for it happening? Because this 18-year-old kid was also seeing a hypnotherapist. The trucks and support vehicles all had that weird Illuminati sign on there, you know, the triangle with the sextant or the compass. I haven't got a picture of it, but you know what I mean. They had stickers on the back of that. One guy that was talking to the camera actually had it on his hat. So it's right in your face what this was really about. And I really do believe this was a ritual sacrifice of children to honor Morlock, you know, whatever you want to call him, the devil, Satan. And they have to do these things at certain times of the year.
Now, before we go into the Durham case and what's really going on with the Clinton and Nancy Pelosi's husband as well, I want to go back to the rituals and the numbers. Because, you know, you're over in Mexico and you're associated with people that, like Huna Flash, who's involved and, you know, into the energies and the pyramids and the portals and all these types of things. And there's people watching this for the first time, right? And I want to ask you, how do you think it benefits the deep state to perform satanic rituals on certain dates? What does that do for them?
Well, it's part of their contract. It's part of their soul contract where they have to do this. They have to make sacrifices. I mean, let's go back to something biblical where, who was it? Was it Moses that was instructed to sacrifice his firstborn son and he saved them at the last minute? It all goes down to them sacrificing children to their God that they worship. It's something that's in their soul contract so they can continue the relationship with this dark force that they feel is their leader and guardian. So it's been going on for thousands of years, Nick, and they continue this. They're all part of the same club. For anybody that hasn't watched this, there's so much information out there that you can do and why they're all involved in these rituals. I mean, look what's going on in Davos right now. And, you know, Bill Gates, his form, you know, now they're releasing this terror about the monkeypox. I've got something briefly to talk about on that as we show you a couple of clips. It's all part of their soul contract. Like Catholics have to go to church on Sunday. They have to do these things to honor their god of darkness, their god of evil, the underworld.
Do you think that maybe by when they perform rituals on certain dates, it helps them to open portals of bad energy to keep us in fear so that they could feed off the fear and have more control? Maybe. What do you think about that?
It's a lower frequency, Nick. They operate in a lower frequency. For example, fear, the frequency when you're frightened and scared and terrified is a very low frequency. It releases certain chemicals in your bloodstream. One of them is adrenochrome, adrenaline, you'll know it by. But when you're in the frequency of love, you're in a frequency of high vibration. And this light, white energy that love creates shines. And it's a simple battle. You can equate it to two simple things, light and dark. So you go into a dark room, as soon as you put light on there, it chases the darkness out. And this is the same thing. This is why I'm going to talk a little bit about that when we get into the Mexican thing, because one of the exercises we were doing was raising your own personal vibration from anger, frustration into love. And when you get into a situation, for example, fighting over a car parking space, you've got a guy say, hey, God damn it, I was here before. I'm just trying to, if you say, hey, I'm so sorry, I didn't see you waiting there. Absolutely. I don't want to put you in a bad mood. I'm in a good mood, so you can take this parking space. And when you answer with love, it's amazing how it absolutely defuses a situation instantly. Nick, put it on pause, buddy. I've got to fix my battery.
We're just going to put it on pause.
Sorry, Nick, my cable for the charger popped out. I was talking about the love vibration frequency, and you can use this in many, many instances. And one of the workshops I did was to improve mine, because I naturally respond with aggression. You know, if someone's saying, hey, you can't come in here. Oh, why not? What's going on? Why not? So raising your vibration from being frustrated and angry, to love and say, okay, accept it. The parking space is a classic one. So for anybody that hasn't tried this, experiment with it. Go into the supermarket. You know, the girl behind the counter doesn't like working there. She has to deal with a load of old people that can't get their money out on time, working long hours for low wages. You know, take a moment to share something of a love vibration with people. Say, hey, how are you today? Are you doing it? You know, you're looking good. Have you changed it? Just do something. Just be nice to people. Great one is lifts, elevators. You know, you get into an elevator, a lift for English people. I don't want English people to start emailing me now saying, you turned all American. You get into a lift, Nick, and everybody's trying to find the little space to look at. But start a conversation. And you'd be surprised how many people respond to it, because nowadays, people feel very lonely. We're all slaves to our phones, you know, doing this. But raising your vibration, chasing the darkness out of a room with light. And this is exactly why these dark satanic ritual members hate what we're doing. Because, you know, they've controlled us with fear. But once you take the fear away from any situation, they have no control. And it's a simple situation. You need to be here when they're here. And you say, no, I'm not going to go back down here. I need to stay high. I'm going to respond with love and respect and say, unfortunately, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I'm in a great mood. It's not going to affect me. So yeah, the satanic stuff, they've been doing it for years, Nick. They've been hiding it from the public, but also showing it in their faces. And then more and more of us wake up with the information and intel that we share between each other. The fog is lifting from our eyes. We can see things. The text is shooting is, now that you look at it, it's obvious, you know? You can see that there's something suspicious. 18-year-old, 10 grand's worth of equipment. Where's he got the money? Lives with his grandmother, no father around. He goes to see a psychologist who's a hypnosis expert, It's all, and all of the badges, the symbols on the police and the trucks that responded to this incident, it's in your face. but we cannot see it because we've been clouded, because we're full of fear. But now this is lifting for millions and millions and millions of us. It's great.
Absolutely. And you're saying that there's a suspicion that this is happening as a cover-up to distract the public from what's really going on. And again, this goes back to Trump, because, you know, if there's arrests, it's hopefully on Durham, you know, it's because of Trump. And then there's cover-ups because of this. And also I want to mention the midterm elections are coming up as well. So there's a lot of heat for the deep state. They're panicking right now.
Absolutely.
Of the midterm. Do you want to tell us?
Yeah, you see, the Durham report is very interesting because he's absolutely shown that it was a plot against Trump, which is completely illegal. It was orchestrated by the top people in the government at the time. The Obamas knew about it. I mean, he green-lighted it. The Clintons have now been named and shamed. So what they don't want you to be thinking about is, oh my God, Hunter Biden's laptop, that's all coming out. We've also got the Obamas that have green-lighted this plot to try and bring Trump down, to discredit him. And you've got Hillary Clinton. So what's the best thing to do, Nick? Create something so shocking, so traumatic for the people, because people love drama. Look at all the TV shows. There's always drama. Oh my, you know, they love soap operas. The people love drama, gossiping and drama. It's part of what the people like it. So they're going to create some incident that's going to shock the world. You need to see what happened in Texas. Look at this 18-year-old boy who went in there and shot all these kids up. And that's what they're doing. It's a complete distraction. In the meantime, they're not putting anything else on the TV. It's the only thing on the front page of the newspapers. What they don't want to do is to find out what the truth is before they get into these midterms. So people say, hang on a second, these organized criminals, I mean, they make the mafia look like Disneyland. That's how bad they are. It's the same thing with the Ukraine as well, you know. They said 17,000 troops were evacuated. But the real thing, the real truth about that particular incident in the Ukraine was 17,000 troops were either surrendered, captured, or killed. They've wiped out all of the Azov battalions in this particular part of the Ukraine. It's been liberated. The Russians have liberated it now. They've wiped them out. 17,000 troops weren't evacuated. Most of them surrendered because they had no equipment. They were surrounded, had no food, no equipment, no ammunition. They were beaten on a moral background. The fight had gone out of them because the Russians had done their job properly. So again, distraction is a massive, massive tool in their toolbox, their armory, to try and keep you dumb and stupid so you don't see what's really going on. They're manipulating you.
And also to money launder, because how much money did the States send to Ukraine?
Oh, right, here's a good one. $40 billion was being sent to the Ukraine to help, you know, the poor old Zelensky. But they turned down a $42 billion proposal to help American business people get back on the feet after losing their businesses during COVID. They'd rather give $40 billion to the Ukraine than help their own people. All the mom and pop shops and small craft stores and bakeries and news agents and, you know, all these small businesses, hardware stores. I mean, it goes on and on and on. They wanted to put, I think it was $47 billion back into the US economy to support Americans to get back on their feet. You know, you've got states like Louisiana, they got hit with 3, maybe 4 massive storms, you know, a hurricane. There's people living in damp, wet houses with no roofs on. They're getting money from FEMA, but they're just not getting it done quick enough. And it's 2 years now, but nobody talks about what's happening in Louisiana. I've had a few people say, listen, mate, I've been living with holes in my roof for 2 years. You can't get materials because they're too expensive. They sell out quickly because people outbid it. The government give you a little bit of financial help, but we can't get it done. There's no skilled work people either. And then you've got the whole border issue where, you know, they're letting in Ukrainians now into different countries who are not being jibby-jabbed. When all of this palaver was going on, Ireland, for example, have now been letting in thousands of Ukrainian refugees. Now, again, before this makes me sound like I'm a white supremacist, there needs to be a process of processing these people, saying, okay, what's your background? Do you have a criminal background? Because there are genuine refugees that are in problems, you know, women with small children. But a lot of these older guys, you know, they're fleeing their own country, leaving their families behind. And I'm dreading what's going to happen in the future with all of these countries now that they've let so many Ukrainians, because absolutely we know the depth and the depravity of the Ukraine and how many of these people are associated with organized crime that goes through right from child trafficking to narcotics to weapons to arms to espionage, you know, like hacking and getting into people's accounts, banking, hacking. And where I live in Spain, Nick, all of a sudden, the whole place is flooded with Ukrainians. And I tell you what, they're not refugees. They're all driving $100,000 cars and renting huge villas. I know, because I get calls every day. Mahoney, do you know a place? I've got a Ukrainian family. They'll spend 20,000 euros a month on a house. You know, the average salary in the Ukraine is $300, but these people want to spend 20 grand a month?
So what are you suggesting? Who are they?
Well, these are obviously, but how do you make big business in the Ukraine if it's $300 a month? You know, there's a lot of things. I met somebody the other day, so I've got the import license for Samsung products. So he does all televisions and stuff. Again, I've met some nice Ukrainians while they've been here. But what worries me is the bad ones that are sneaking in on refugee status, getting themselves stood up to get the network of criminal networking going, getting into a country whose police force is already struggling to understand the problem of crime and narcotics importation. And now these guys, you know, these are hardened veterans and criminals that have no fear of the judicial system. They get put in a prison in Spain or the UK or Ireland or Germany. It's a holiday for them, man. They'll just do a lot of push-ups, lose a load of weight, get a few more tattoos. It's the organized network of criminal gangs that are now having their networks taken away from them in the Ukraine by what Putin's doing. He's dismantling all of this corruption and darkness. But these people are being relocated because the European Union and other countries are now saying, okay, well, you can come and live here. Again, it's designed to take down society. It's called scorched earth, Nick. As the deep state are being forced out of their rat holes, what they're doing is they're burning everything as they're retreating. They're burning all their medical system. They're burning the financial system. They're putting gasoline prices too high. You can't buy food. It's 40% up. Inflation is close to 40% now. It's called scorched earth policy as the white hats drive all of these rats from their hiding holes, destroy the financial bases like the Ukraine, and then putting them in a situation now where they're getting desperate and they're having to relocate and hide and disperse. So I'm very concerned about all of these countries in the European Union that are taking in these refugees. But again, there are genuine refugees. They have no money. They've been forced out of their homes because Zelensky's Nazis, you know, they were doing in Malapov, Nick, the Ukrainian military, the Azov battalion, were deliberately shelling civilian buildings to cause them to burn so they could burn everything. So there was a huge haze of smoke. 140 people living in one tiny basement room while the whole city was being shelled. And it wasn't the Russians doing it. It was the Azov battalion, the fascist right-wing Zelensky's trained, brainwashed, heavily tattooed in swastikas. These people aiming at civilian buildings and emptying shells on them to destroy, because they knew they couldn't hold it. They wanted to destroy the city. It's called scorched earth, and it's been played out very much. And you know who did that? The Nazis did it. When they were retreating from Russia during World War II, they scratched and burned everything. Let me just put one on mute. I've got the maid knocking. Just a maid. Yeah, babe, so where are we going to go next after all of that?
So let's talk about Nancy Pelosi's husband, who was...
Yeah, interesting story. Let me screen share that, Nick, and I'll show you what I came up with. Again, you've got political leaders like Nancy Pelosi, who's telling us to be, you know, to do exactly this, and we're such amazing human beings, and you should do what we do. And she's drunk from morning to night. Vamos a ver. Let's have a look where I'm going. I'm going to go here. Let me set it up, Nick. Yeah. So Nancy Pelosi's husband was picked up for DWI, which is drunk while intoxicated. Driving under intoxication it is. Now, this is a felony, Nick, in the USA. Now, a felony is, they consider it extremely serious. Here we go. I'll go back now and do it. I found it. Yeah, so when they ask if you've been convicted of a felony is a rape. A felony is murder. Well, actually, murder is a bit strong. But let's see if I can blow that up. Here's a record of Nancy Pelosi's husband was arrested at 11:44 p.m. He was bailed on Friday. Was it? I can't really read that. There we go. There we go. Paul Pelosi, white male, 6'2", 200 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Date of birth, 15th of April, 1940. He's 82 years old. At 11:44 p.m. on the 28th of May, he was booked for DWI and bailed for $5,000. Now, that's a felony. Now, under a felony conviction, Nick, if I had a felony, which I do actually, when I was 19 or something, I was caught one drink over the limit and 12 months ban. Officially, I'm not supposed to go into America. If you have a drink driving conviction anywhere in the world, they consider that enough for you not to enter the United States of America. And they ask you that in the forms. So yeah, this guy gets it and it's okay. It's a felony. So now Nancy Pelosi's husband he will be a convicted felon. Mind you, he might get a really good lawyer and get off with it and say, oh, the test was inaccurate, the machine wasn't calibrated, and various things like this. But it's interesting that they don't practice what they preach. Absolutely. It makes me giggle, really. I don't get angry, but I'm like, you're full of shit. Shut up, woman. Your husband's will be a convicted felon. He should be, but more than likely he'll probably get off with it, and the judge will throw it out because of either all political buddies and all the same, Illuminati gangs. But interesting story. I like that one. That only came out today. I saw that.
Absolutely. And we don't see anything like this happening with the Trump family, being arrested.
No, exactly. Everyone's really fast to jump on the Trump hate train, aren't they? But you know what? Tell you what, he brought all the manufacturing back to the US. He told China, we're not bringing any more of your cheap imports. And he wanted all the manufacturing back to the US to create jobs. Gasoline prices were down. People were safe. He didn't invade any countries. Look at all the countries he toured to. He's the only president that's ever been to see Kim Jong-un in North Korea. He shook hands with the world's leaders. He made it very clear what was going on. He said, number one, America first. I think he's right. I think every country should be the same as that. Billions and billions of pounds from the UK being poured into the European Union for what? So they can sit in Brussels in their nice apartments with their mistresses, quaffing foie gras and drinking champagne every day. It's things are upside down. It needs to be flipped. It goes into the other thing. We, the people, need to understand that we decide what we want, but they tell us what to do. You can't go out your home. You've got to do this. You've got to present a certificate to go here. You need to go and get a jibby jab. Now they're pushing this monkeypox bullshit. I've got another screenshot there, Nick. I'll go back and show you of an article in one of the English newspapers. Oh, typical.
Just be careful with your words on the censorship, because we want to reach out to loads of people who are not aware of BitChute and Rumble.
Well, basically, there was this article in an English newspaper saying that they're now expecting to be able to cull pets because they're terrified that they're going to, I can't bring it up, they're terrified that they're going to be able to contaminate us with this new pox, this new pox that's coming out. I just did an interview and I pulled it all apart, this thing, and I really do think they're going to, I think they're going to try to do what they did in the last 2 years to keep us all in the house, mate. I have a feeling they're going to try to do it because this pox is not lethal. It's like people have died of it. Who? And how the hell did it get out of Africa when it's been contained in Africa for 60 years that it's been known? And all of a sudden it's leapt out of Africa and it's managed to get in the USA. And have you noticed there's only cases of it recorded in NATO countries? Have you noticed that as well? So I really do think they're going to try to do something like that. They're going to keep pushing the fear porn and telling us to be terrified of this, showing us pictures that are so disturbing of people with huge boils and welts all over themselves, which have been shown to be pictures of people with shingles. It's not even this pox at the time.
I just don't think people will fall for it this time.
I agree, mate. I agree.
I don't think.
But they're going to try.
I think it's going to really help people wake up more. It's going to push people to the limit, and they're going to eventually they will stand up, and they'll be doing what we all need to be doing, is to take back responsibility and not just sit back and let the authorities do what they want.
You've got to remove them of their power. And how do you do that? You don't comply. Imagine if 150 people walked into the mayor's office and said, right, you're out. We're not complying. You're out. Oh, no, you voted me, and said, no, we didn't vote you in because you probably cheated at the results. Everybody needs to start in small communities, small towns, get together and say, we are unhappy with our legal, with our political representation. We are now demanding that you step down, because we have the power to do that. This is where things have gone wrong over the last 40, 50 years. They've switched it round, saying they all think they're gods, they're kings. But people don't understand the sovereign power that they have. You need to band together to say, we don't want you representing us anymore. In fact, you've misrepresented us by taking away our civil liberties and our freedoms. But people, what can I do? I'm just one person. True, by yourself, you can't do much. You got to keep pushing back. And this is why I fight so hard. They can do so many interviews like you to get the truth out there, to empower people to understand the sovereign strength that they have. We are supreme beings. These are political puppets that have manipulated the system through wealth, power, favors, and contacts worldwide to now enslave us. And they laugh at us, They laugh at us when you have to cover your face up with a covering. They laugh at us, What about when they were trying to get people to believe that the next part of the test is going to be even more humiliating by taking a sample from your rear end, a bottom swab? I mean, that's just based on utter humiliation to try and break your spirit. And now I'm waiting to see what test they're going to release to see if you have got the MP, the pox. Where are they going to bring this test from? Is it going to be the same test? Oh my God, the PCR test's amazing. It can not only detect the virus, but it can now detect this other virus. Just wait and see what they do. But I think you're right, mate. The amount of people that are realizing what an utter and total load of rubbish, or as they say in the UK, utter bollocks, mate.
So what's happening in Mexico? You're in Mexico now. Why don't we wrap this up and you can tell us what's happening in Mexico?
Yeah, Mexico. Okay, so Huna Flash, you've seen me. You've actually interviewed us a few times together. Huna Flash has 6-country tour where he's doing a series of ceremonies, and it's a cleansing event. It's called Burning Mask, and the symbology of this is to cleanse yourself of all the frustration, the bad energy that we've all gathered during this event where we were all masked. So we have a series of guest speakers that have been here, amazing speakers. We've had doctors, we've had Danny from Costa Rica, we've had Christine, we've had, we had this American doctor on that's been on Oprah Winfrey. I think she said 10 times. She's a best-selling author. She's a best-selling journalist, published. Yeah, an amazing, amazing, amazing woman. I tell you what, hilariously funny. But getting inside her head and she's sharing the information. I've spent 3 days with her. I'm so lucky and blessed with this work I do. But an absolutely fantastic soul. And we're howling laughing at some of the stories that we've been sharing. But the whole energy behind this is raising your vibration with knowledge and power and exercises. And then at the end of the ceremony, we took a paper mask and everybody wrote their emotions and desires of what they wanted to cleanse from themselves. Why they're so angry? Because we've all had loved ones that have passed in this time period. For example, your grandma, she didn't die of the virus. What she died was his old age, but you weren't allowed into the hospital to see her. You couldn't give her a hug before she passed on. And one of the energies that Danny was talking about, there's so many lost, confused souls now after they have passed, because they've ended up dying alone in some place that they don't understand. That, if you go to on a spiritual level, Nick, there's millions of souls that have passed in this time period, and they've passed alone, without love, without guidance. And this is it. It's a time of lost souls, really. A lot of us that are walking around here are lost. We don't know what's going on. We're confused by what's on the media. It is a great time of lost souls.
Absolutely.
So writing their wishes down, we then put it in, we burned them. We had a small fire on the edge of this amazing lagoon. We all took our time and took our wishes and burned them in the sacred flames. And then we all went into the beautiful warm waters of the Caribbean Pacific here and cleansed ourselves of all of these negative energies, negative feelings, negative, just, built up anger. And it was an amazing experience. Ahuna really surprised me this time. I know him quite a few years now, 2-3 years, I think. I've been all over the place with him. But the emotional frequency in these events that he's doing, I mean, he's really brought his A game this time. He had a few songs there in the guest speakers. We're kicking it off in Glastonbury next weekend, Nick, if you want to pop down. And then we're doing Holland, Germany, Norway, and Ireland. I think there's one other country we're going to, maybe France as well. So over the next 6 weeks, all summer, I'm doing a weekend with Huna at his Burning Mask event, which is hoh.earth, houseofhuna.earth, Burning Mask. You'll see it there. I'm very surprised how powerful it was, because I've done some powerful stuff with him. But this one, he actually really zapped me. Something happened yesterday, and I had a massive spiritual booster inside yesterday. It'll definitely change me. This is going to make me more powerful, buddy. What else have I got? I've got that's it. We went through everything. I was going to show you something, but it's Mickey Mouse. It's not really so important. It was just a story about the Starbucks emblem. The logo on Starbucks has now been tagged as some satanic priestess. So you'll see it's probably going to circulate on Telegram anyway, Nick. So I think.
Well, they say symbolism will be their downfall. And going back to Oprah Winfrey, she's been on the Oprah Winfrey. To Dr. Northrup. She's been on Oprah Winfrey's show 10 times. But when we were all asleep about what was really going on, but obviously Oprah Winfrey's gone her way, and Dr. Northrup has gone her way with the truth. And she's also been a New York Times biggest seller 3 times.
Yeah, and honestly, mate,
fantastically well. She's been labeled as a conspiracy theorist, a qualified doctor of decades of experience, and and we have to label her as a conspiracy theory now, because all of a sudden she wants to, she wants to stand by humanity and help them and give them the truth. So this is what we're dealing with right now. So she's one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met, Dr. Northrup. Super sharp, knows everything, has a sense of humor as sharp as a knife. Was really picking up on mine, because I kept trying to, and Danny as well from Costa Rica. She's the mate. She's great friends with Elena Danan. She was sharing some amazing stuff about raising your vibration, dealing with the love energy, to push away, because they don't like it. These negative people that live in this negative frequency, as soon as they come up to you and you're happy and bright, they hate it. They can't stand to be around you. So if you're using it for travel restrictions or any situation in a political, or like a government town hall, any government job, these people are always pissed off and angry. Use this love vibration and see how things change, Nick. It's been an amazing, amazing experience. I'm so pleased and actually honored to meet all of these people. Absolutely. I'm going to putting some back behind the scenes stuff up, and we actually live stream the whole event, so it is recorded. So I'm going to convince Huna to give me some links to share it with everybody. But David,
yes, that's it.
David, I was going to say thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. It's been great. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yeah, one of the other things that came to Mexico, Nick, is people are being ripped off so much on medicines. I'm trying to get them set up. I mean, I can't really talk about that too much. Yeah.
Well, we'll call it the Mectin, the Ivor one.
Yeah.
And the other one.
That's continuing. That's continuing. Me getting essential help on the medicine front out is still continuing. Nick's got the links below. I'm absolutely loving that, Nick, because you have no idea. Like I had met people there that had got them, and they said, David, you have no idea how much you helped us. We couldn't get over it. We had brain fog after 24 hours taking that. I mean, hugging me and kissing me, and I've always told people, hey, this is how I am. When you meet me, there's nothing different about being on camera, being on screen. I am like that. I'm very approachable. Shake my hand, give me a hug, and men are hugging me. I like it. And Nick, as always, you're doing a great job of getting the truth out. I met a Norwegian couple. I said, I've got to go, guys, because I'm doing an interview with Nicholas Veniamin. They said, he is brilliant. He knows exactly how to just reach the point of target straight away with his questions, and he just let people talk. he interviewed someone and asked them a very awkward question, but he got the truth out. You're doing a great job, buddy.
Thank you so much. It's definitely my honor. I'm really enjoying this, and I'm learning as well. I'm learning as well. We're all in the same boat here, and it's great stuff. I love what I'm doing. But thank you so much, and we'll speak again very soon, David. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Oh, by the way, I do a live show every Tuesday and Friday. If you want to join me on that, the links are below. It's good fun. There's lots of intel, a few laughs. And it goes out at 8 p.m. every Tuesday and Friday, Madrid time. And you're very welcome to join us. Nick, thanks so much, buddy. I'll see you when I get back sometime. Hopefully we'll get together this summer, yeah?
Absolutely. Take care, David. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.